Hi guys, I'm so excited to talk with you about one of my favorite subjects, learning to read. It's been my favorite thing that I've studied in school. It's my favorite books to sell. It's my favorite hobby. I do tutoring on the side as well, and I love it. So let's get started. I've got a lot to show you. When kids are first learning to read, one of the best things you can do is get them interested in letters by pointing out letters in the book or letters that you see around town. And I would start with the letters of their name. You really want to get them focused on, my son's name is William, so W is for William, M is for Mom. Let's see if we can find a W. Let's see if we can find an M. Another thing you can do is getting them to write their letters. That's a great way to get them practicing and ready for letters. So I really enjoy our white cleans for this. This is our getting ready for school. It's got the ABC 1, 2, 3s in it, and it's $15, so it's a little bit cheaper than buying them individually. But it's fun because each page has the letter that they can write, and then a few things that start with that letter to reinforce that letter's sound. You can also get this in a White Clean activity pack, so you get 4 books for $20, which is one of our best deals. I love getting it that way. And it comes with a little White Clean marker, but they're a little bit smaller, so these are good for like church or doctor's office. You can throw them in a diaper bag or a purse, but they're the same thing, just a little bit smaller. And again, they have that letter practice and then things on the page that start with that letter to help reinforce the sound. So in this activity pack, the Getting Ready for School, you get first letters ready for writing, which is a writing practice, and then alphabet and White Clean 1, 2, 3. So these are by far my favorite White Cleans to get. I also encourage everybody to have an alphabet book. This has been one of my favorite alphabet books. It's the Usborne Illustrated Alphabet. It is $20, and it is a fabric-bound, really hardy, sturdy book. But my favorite things about it are not just the style of it, but I love the silly story that it has as it goes through the different things. So at the zoo, something has happened to the food, and each of the animals get something silly or that they don't like. And it's kind of a little bit of a mystery to see what happens, but it also is a fun way to talk about the alphabet. So each page, you're going to get that beautiful big letter. You're also going to get an example at the bottom and then a little short thing. So for example, C is for cockatoo. The cockatoos were completely confused. Their carrots were covered in caterpillars. So you get that repeated sound. That's called alliteration, and that's going to help reinforce what the sound that it makes. You also have all these different little things like the caterpillar, the car, the cat that you can point out on the page. And I found this to be really motivating for especially my 3-year-old as we're learning sounds. He likes things that are silly, and he also likes when he has a concrete visual thing in front of him. So I like using this book. My husband kind of thinks it's a magic book because it helps put my son to sleep at night. If I go through and I read every single page and I point out all the different sounds and we talk about it, it takes a little bit of time, but my son will sit through it all. He's really engaged with it. It's also good with my son who's 1.5 because I can do a simple story. I can say N is for newt. And then we can find the newt on the page and go on with the rest of our story. So it's kind of fun because it works with all ages. And it also is fun and engaging because it has that repeated sound, silly story. So this is a great way to introduce your kids to letters. But if not, find an alphabet book that has lots of letters and lots of practice with the sounds. Once they've gotten letter names and sounds down, they can move on to words and blending the sounds together. So I always start with words because when kids first start reading or they are pre-readers, they can read simple stories that have repeated text, like our That's Not My books. That's Not My only switches 2 words in each page. So they will be able to read almost 80% of this book on their own from memory. And that's really good because they get some of those skills of opening, a book goes left to right, this text has meaning. They may not be able to do it word for word, but they'll probably be able to read, That's Not My Panda, its paws are 2, and if they've read it enough, they'll know that it's rough. And then the next page, That's Not My Panda, its, and then you can point back, is too fuzzy. So they'll be able to read most of this just from memory because they've gotten that. And that is still reading. That's helping kids know that print has meaning, that these words have meaning, and the way a book flows and the story goes. So I really, really like these, and I used them in tutoring this summer. Another thing to do is getting a word book. This is my favorite Usborne word book. It's the Lift the Flap word book. I am in love with it because there are so many things that you can do. You can use it as a matching activity. So you lift the flap, you read frog, you lift the flap, and you see a picture of the frog. So you've reinforced the vocabulary word, and then you have to search for the frog on this page, and when you find it, you lift it, and there's that word again. So it's introducing these words to kids. As they get older, they'll be able to self-correct or read. It's kind of a Montessori thing, where you're looking at the word cat, and you lift it up, and there's the cat. So if you're not around, they can still practice these words and get that visual cue and understand the different words. I also like that a lot of these words are simple enough. If you have sounds, you'll be able to kind of sound out the different words. So like this M-O-O, moo. If they sound it out, they might be able to know that that's a cow. And then they'll find the cow up here. So that is one of my favorite word books. Once you've gotten words, you can, or as you're doing words, you can also work on blending and putting the sounds together and breaking them apart, blending and segmenting. One of my favorite ways to do that is with our Start to Read pack. It is a great book that goes through, these 8 books in this set go through the first sounds in English that they learn, and it's also in the same order that they learn in kindergarten. It comes with 8 books and then a parent's guide. So this is a really good one for anybody who's wanting to learn more about reading, but also wants some support as they're doing it. And it's got some online help as well. But my favorite thing about this book is that it's a shared reading experience. So it says, the night was cold, the sky was black, the window rattled, tap, tap, tap. Now, your child would not read this. This small text is for you or for the reading tutor when I do it. And then the child would be able to sound out these sound words, tap, tap, tap. And if you're not sure what sounds are in the book, they tell you at the end of the book. They tell you what sounds are in the book and what's needed for your child to succeed in reading. So it's got guided notes, and then at the end of every book, it also has different puzzles and activities to test the child's comprehension. I love this, and I use this in tutoring. I've used it with 4-year-olds who are just starting to read, and I've used it with a girl who finished up kindergarten and just needed to build some confidence in her reading. She was at the lowest level you could to pass kindergarten, and this really helped her because I read a page and she read a page, and it helped kind of build that confidence, and the stories are so silly and fun. The Start to Read pack is really fun because it's one of our bargain buys. You get the 8 books for $40, and then you have all the parent resources. Or we just came out with this awesome My First Reading Library. So I'm going to show you in the catalog. So this is the First Reading Library. You get 50 books for $80. And this is going to have all the books in here, but it's going to go up to a much higher level. They're going to get lots of practice because they're going to have 2 books in each level, and it is a killer deal. I have not seen any type of reading set before in all of my tutoring and all of my studies that has been this well researched and designed. So those are the books that you get. So it is awesome, and it's also a hostess favorite. A lot of people like to host parties so that they can get that reading library at a discount. So once you start getting that blending, segmenting, you can start moving on to phonics books. And these are amazing. We'll talk about Monomatch in a second. But phonics books are books that have words that rhyme. So Bug in a Rug, Raccoon on the Moon, Ted and Friends. These are some of our combined volumes. And Cow Takes a Bow. What I like about combined volumes is that you're able to read with your kids, and you can kind of start and stop, or you can read multiple books at once, and they don't quite know that they've read 3 books until you point it out and say, oh my goodness, you are so awesome. Did you know you read those 3 books? And the one thing I do like about the combined volumes is that they have parents' notes at the end as well. So, and Ted and Friends is unique in that it has a CD that comes with it, so you can listen to it in the car, or your kids can listen at home. And so phonics are really great. They just came out with a picture book box set, or a phonics books box set that's 20 books for $70, and that's a great thing to pair to the My First Reading Library, and that means the books are about $3.50 a piece, and it's a killer deal for phonics books as well. So these are great for once they've started learning how sounds have meaning and they can blend them together and segment them. I found that a lot of preschool and kindergartners love these to be read to them, and then by the end of kindergarten, they're able to read a lot of these type of books. So that's just a little bit about kids learning to read and starting to read, and I hope you've enjoyed looking at some of these books with me and have learned something. And please, please, please ask questions. This is my favorite thing. So if you have questions or need recommendations, let me know.